CRT, critical race theory. The issues of race, unstable, sensitive, and highly volatile. Can this subject really be taught in our school systems without an explosion? Many of us have seen and heard some type of racial act geared toward ourselves personally or someone else at some point in life. As for me, I have experienced being called the N-word by whites, and yet I have a great relationship with whites, etc. I've come to realize that just because you have one or more bad experiences with people of different race, it does not mean that that entire race is still all ill will toward you. If CRT is going to be taught in our public schools, there are 3 goals that must be effectively accomplished throughout the process. First is teaching must not be directly nor indirectly responsible for the breeding or the resurrecting of disdain or hatred from one race to the next. Secondly, there must be the promotion of racial equality, primarily amongst the students, etc. And thirdly, dialogue concerning the beauty of the different races. It's a dialogue that must be ignited. Now, as we move on to our first point of discussion, keep the following in mind. There is a law of nature that states, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. Let's go on to our first point. The teaching of CRT cannot be directly nor indirectly responsible for the resurrecting and the disdaining and hatred of races amongst each other. Now, by definition, CRT seems to be a good subject to introduce to many young people. It was started about a little over 40 years ago. It is an academic concept, with its core being that racism is a social construct, not just something that's on individual bias or prejudice, but something that's more embedded in our social, judicial, legal system and policies. Now, with that in mind, I want us to kind of set a mindset of the going back in the past. I want you to think of the mindset of the forefathers of our country and then those who helped establish the foundation of this country. Now, we're all familiar with our United States preamble of the Constitution. It says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, we provide for the common defense, we promote the general welfare, and we also secure blessings and liberty to ourselves and our posterity. Do order and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." Now, with that in mind, let's ask the question, who were they thinking to benefit from this Constitution? Now, who was not to benefit concerning the benefit of this Constitution? Well, the benefactors were the whites. They established it. The blacks were over here as slaves. They were not thought of to benefit from the Constitution. So because of those two dynamics, an explosion took place. The blacks moved towards civil rights. The whites began to move in a way to feel that they had to protect their way of the Constitution from other races. Now, teaching CRT must be taught in a way that helps the different races to understand that because we are all here, we should all enjoy these freedoms together. Teaching CRT must not focus on making whites look bad, because that could possibly result in hostility by the whites, because they may feel that they're being picked up on. And if hostility from the whites begin to take place, that can cause a domino effect, leading to hostility from blacks and other races. Now, with an awareness and action of keeping the teaching of CRT from being a breeding ground of disdain and hatred from one race to another, promoting racial equality amongst the students can have a less volatile atmosphere of involvement. So, as we move into point 2, the promotion of racial equality primarily amongst the students at school during this teaching of CRT. So one idea that I bring to mind is to allow the students of different races in the schools to have one-on-one and group sessions about the past and present issues of race. For instance, Allow the students to point out what looks like racial inequality to them from observance of the past and the present. They can also allow the students to express what they would have done or doing now and should do now to make racial equality of a lesser force in society. Another one would be assign special projects with students of different races where they engage with each other in order to understand the true life experiences of the other as pertaining to the perception and interaction of other races. Now, while experiencing the process of ridding the atmosphere of any disdain or hatred from one race to another and promoting racial equality, then comes the ignition of dialogue amongst the students, etc., concerning the beauty of the different races, which brings us to our next point. Igniting the dialogue concerning the beauty of different races. So imagine this, sharing this with people in school, the children. The colors in a crayon box, they are different for a reason. They are used to color pictures. Imagine if all the colors were the same color. The colors help to bring beauty to a picture. Each color has something different within it, and each something helps to bring out a greater beauty in life. In like manner, humans of different races are the colors in the box of life. These humans, like colors, are used to help color the pictures of everyday life. Imagine if every human was the same color outside and the same personality inside. Like colors, the different races of people help bring beauty to the picture of life. Each race of people has something different within it, but each race, like the colors, helps to bring out a greater beauty of life. Creating a wholesome and peaceful atmosphere in the teaching of CRT in this manner is needed. Not an unstable one where people are walking on eggshells in dialogue. From destabilizing the potential of hatred and disdain amongst races, coupled with promoting racial equality and the dialogue concerning the beauty of races, what a beautiful scenery. Here in the United States of America, we have come a long way in regards to racial inequality, particularly amongst blacks and whites. And let us not forget how it all began and the results that manifested. One side who felt that they were protecting the liberty within the Constitution, while the other side who did choose to come here but were here and wanted to experience the sameness and liberty. The explosion brought murders, fightings, hatred, and so many other destructive devices. For this very reason, I argue that if CRT is going to be taught, it must be done with care in order to not resurrect any of these past evils of hatred and disdain, but must promote racial equality and preach the beauty of the races. Remember, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. Through the teaching of CRT, let us not recreate the actions nor the actions of racial inequality from the past. Thank you.